G'day YouTubers, Michael from beyourbestself.fitness here. Today's video we are using the kettlebell, a really versatile tool that can be used in or out of the gym, so you can easily go and purchase one of these for yourself at home, and it's so versatile that we can use this to train our entire body. So today I'm going through a whole bunch of exercises, beginner exercises, so exercises that most people should be able to do using the kettlebell. I'll also have an advanced video coming where we really ramp up the difficulty of some of those exercises. That's the beauty of the kettlebell. We can use it for a range of different exercises. We can use it for standard bodybuilding type training where we're targeting single muscle groups, or we can use it for full body exercises and put it in a HIIT type fashion, or high intensity interval training, where we're really training our cardio and our strength. So versatile tool, one that I really recommend a lot of people have, especially if they're training at home and they don't want to go to the gym. This is a tool that can really help you cover the entire body. So I'm going to get in position and go through all of the exercises that I've got for the beginner option and talk you through all of the technique for those as well. Alrighty guys, so I'm going to go through each of these exercises one by one and just go through the technique for you. I don't want you just grabbing a kettlebell and going willy-nilly. We harp on technique to protect from injury, but also to maximize each exercise. We want to target the right muscle groups, we want to activate the right muscles, we want to protect our spine, we want to do this right from day one. So I'm going to go through the technique in detail for you guys. Hopefully you appreciate it. I know that that's what I would appreciate when I'm learning new things. So here we go. We're starting with the kettlebell swing, probably one of the most common exercises with the kettlebell. So with the kettlebell swing, I'm taking probably a shoulder width stance, so similar to a squat stance, picking up the kettlebell with both hands. So the things we're focusing on with that is a slight knee bend and a nice straight back. So like the squat or like the deadlift, I want to sit my hips back when I'm coming down to pick up that kettlebell, sitting my hips back and keeping my back nice and straight. So use a mirror to check out. A lot of people will think they're putting their hips back when they're just doing this, okay, but we really want straight back. I want to lock in my core. So like I'm doing a plank, tighten all of these muscles, okay, so that as I lean, I'm not allowing them to curl. Nice tight muscles. Going to pick up the kettlebell. Using my knees and my hips, I'm going to push up. So with the kettlebell swing, we're going to get some momentum. Sit back, drive through. So the idea here is we're targeting glutes, hamstrings, low back. So as I'm coming back, I want to really feel like I'm loading up tension in my glutes. Really feel like I'm putting all of my effort into my glutes as I drive my hips up from the bottom. So I don't want to just be pulling my hands up, using my shoulders for this exercise. I really want to be loading up my glutes, feeling the tension. I'm also sort of connecting my feet to the ground. So I want to make sure I've got good contact between my big toe, little toe and heel, and this will go through all the exercises. Good contact, all parts of my foot. So I don't want my toes floating around, don't want my heels coming up off the ground. Good contact between all those 3 points. And it also helps to engage the glutes and the legs by twisting the ground apart. So I'm almost like I'm trying to tear a piece of paper between my feet. Now that switches all of these muscles on. And then as I come back, I really feel that tension building in my glutes, and then I'm driving with my hips. So really driving with my hips, squeezing the glutes there, and that momentum of my hips coming up is what will just bring that kettlebell up into that swing, and then we catch by loading up those glutes again. So my arms aren't doing anything but just being part of that pendulum. Go through a few reps again, twisting the ground apart, glutes engaged, cores engaged. Load up the glutes, drive with the hips. Squeeze the glutes at the top. And just catching that by loading up the glutes again. That is our kettlebell swing. So staying with those same muscle groups, we're going to go into the kettlebell deadlift. I'll show you the stiff leg deadlift first. So stance is probably a little narrower for this one, more in line with the hips. Exactly the same thing, tight core, straight back. So this one, I'm keeping my legs fairly straight, still a slight bend. Okay, but I want my back to become almost parallel with the ground there. So I've got good tension in my hamstrings up into my glutes. Driving through with the hips again, but this time we're not swinging. So this is a good glute, low back and hamstring exercise. While I'm holding the kettlebell, I still want to think about keeping my shoulders back and down. So you can almost feel like you're twisting the kettlebell to really help engage those muscles, just like we're twisting the ground. A lot of these same things carry over for all the exercises that we do. So I want my shoulders back and down. I don't want to be in this position here, pulling that shoulder forward. So I want it protected. I want to lock it in with my back muscles, pulling my shoulder blades together. Okay. That is our stiff leg deadlift. Now, to change that into a regular deadlift, all we're going to do is just bring some more legs into it. So I'm going to bend down with my legs a little bit more. Back still straight, probably more at a 45-degree angle, and then driving up from there. So this just brings some more legs into the lift, and usually we'll be a bit stronger with that movement. Okay, so the stiff leg is a little more targeted on the lower back. With the regular deadlift, we're bringing the legs into it and taking a little bit of pressure off the low back. So that's our two options with the kettlebell deadlift. Alrighty guys, moving on to the next one. First of all, you have to forgive my sweating, but it is the middle of summer here, so it is very, very hot, even though it's the morning where I am in far north Queensland, Australia, but we'll do what we have to do. So moving into the squat. So the kettlebell is a great tool to add some weight to our squats. Again, just targeting a little bit more of the strength aspect. So there's a couple of different ways we can do this. I'll start with the goblet squat. So whenever we're picking it up, this is a heavy one, so I pretty much have to. But you want to make sure that we're doing those things that I mentioned in the swing and the deadlift. We've got the straight back, loading up into our glutes, pulling our shoulders back and down. Okay, so the goblet squat can be done a couple of different ways. You can hold onto it here and squat down. You can bring it up into more of a front rack position, like a front squat, and squat down like that. Or you can also just hold it here and squat down. But for me, I like to squat a little deeper, so I like to hold it up in that front rack position. So with the squat, a very technical move. I go through all of these exercises in a lot of detail on my website, but I'll still cover the squat in as much detail as I can, but keep it brief. So squat, our stance is more shoulder width. Toes are slightly out. Now I want good contact with the ground, like I mentioned in the deadlift. So we want our big toe, little toe, and heel to have good consistent contact. So we've got our weight distributed well within our foot. Toes slightly out, not too far, because I want you to twist and grab the ground. Engage all these muscles. If our feet are too far out, it's really hard to twist and create that tension in the legs that I'm after. So toes slightly out, twisting, so my glutes are engaged, my legs are engaged, got my core engaged as well. And then as we're squatting, that twisting is going to help keep my knees out in line with my toes or a little bit outside, and that's to prevent our ankle collapsing in and our knee collapsing in, because that's a very weak position for our knees and ankles, so we want to avoid that all the time. So that twisting will help engage the glutes and keep those knees out on the right line. And again, I want those hips coming back, okay, as my knees break and are twisting out as well. So don't want to just come forward with the knees, don't want to just sit back with the hips. We want to do both. So I want to twist the ground as I break at my knees and twisting my knees out. I'm also breaking at my hips and coming down. And then again, we're always trying to keep that back straight, loading up in the glutes, driving up from there. That's the squat. Then we can add that weight to it. Okay, so I'm still shoulders back and down, locked in with my back, twisting my feet on the ground, glutes are engaged, core's engaged. Nice big breath into my stomach. That helps create more abdominal pressure and keep our core stabilized. Hips back, knees out. Keeping my chest up, keeping that kettlebell in that position. I don't want to come down. Okay, chest up, back locked in, core locked in. That is our goblet squat. Now we can go into a sumo squat. So a sumo squat is a wider stance like a sumo wrestler. Toes will be a little bit more out for this one. This one we're going to target the glutes a little bit more and more of the inner thighs as well. So coming down, still forcing those knees out. Chest is up, back straight. And probably focusing a little more on pushing through the heels rather than the whole foot, because that's going to tie into the glute and hamstrings for this one. It's very similar, sumo squat, just a wider stance, but all the same rules apply. Okay, let me wipe the sweat from my brow. So we're going into the overhead press, going into the shoulders now. So kettlebell's a great tool for that. Again, I want to pick that up, straight back, hips back, driving with the feet. Getting back into that front rack position, shoulders back and down, locked in with my back, pressing overhead. So obviously there's a couple of different ways we can do this. You can hold it side on, but I do feel like one arm's working a little more than the other. So I get into this front rack position, just keep the handle down a little bit so I'm not going to collect myself in the chin. As we press up, my core's still locked in. I don't want to be arching my back. I want my core locked in tight, my spine in a good neutral position. Okay guys, so we're moving into the tricep extension now. So we're using the kettlebell in an overhead position. So just going from that overhead press. So all of that's exactly the same to press that kettlebell up overhead. So wrapping my thumbs around, front rack position, bringing that up overhead. So still keeping my core locked in tight, my spine in a good safe position. I'm lowering that kettlebell down, keeping my elbows close together, pressing back up. So I don't want my my upper arms moving back or forward. I want to keep them locked in, nice tight upper back, pressing overhead. So really need to maintain tension in our core for this one. So I'll show you front on. Elbows in nice and close, you don't want them flaring out. Pressing overhead. That is our tricep extension. From there we can go into the bicep curl. So grabbing the kettlebell again, doing a bicep curl. So pretty simple, but we still want to keep our core locked in. Still want to try and keep our shoulders back and down as best we can. It's a bit harder when our hands are close together in front of us, but we're doing our best. Again, we don't want arms moving because that's our shoulders doing the work. So core locked in, nice and tight, twisting the ground, glutes are engaged. Nice strict bicep curl. Okay, you can grab the kettlebell up on the horns there as well. Focusing in on the bicep squeeze for that one. Just gonna go into a lunge using the kettlebell in that front rack goblet position. This is just a bit of added weight. So first I'll just demonstrate our options. So we can go into somewhat of a stationary lunge. So just staying in that position. What we're looking for is a fairly close to a 90-degree angle on that front leg. So don't want too much weight over the toes, putting a lot of pressure on the knees, and not too much behind either. So we can stay in that position. Okay, the other options are stepping forward, lunging, stepping back. Or the opposite, where we can step back and lunge. So we're trying to keep our torso fairly upright and obviously keeping our core engaged. Still trying to keep that knee out. Okay, as well, we don't want that caving in. So you still want to try and keep that glute engaged, twisting that leg out as we're squatting. Looking forward, picking a point forward so we're not head down, because then our body tends to follow. Okay, so stepping forward, or stepping back, or stationary. Just using that kettlebell for a bit of extra weight and really making that front leg work in that lunge position. So from there we're going to go into an upright row. So this is a shoulder exercise. So a couple of things to note for this one. We want to keep our elbows nice and high. So I don't want to be pulling with our wrists, pulling with our hands. I'll show you what I mean. So an upright row, we're grabbing the top of the kettlebell, keeping it close to our body, core locked in, all of those same things. Bringing it up here. So you can see my elbows are nice and high above my shoulders. That puts most of the emphasis on my shoulders. If I'm bringing the kettlebell up here, it turns into a bit of a bicep curl. So we want nice high elbows, feeling like you're pulling from the elbows. Okay, that's our upright row, focusing on the middle of the shoulder there, the medial head. All right, going to go into the bent over row. So this is a back exercise. And what we're looking for is that similar setup position to the deadlift, when my hips are back, slight bend in the knees, nice straight back. I'm going to grab the kettlebell, so I'm pulling my shoulders back and down as best I can. They still look like they're forward a bit because my hands are close together in front of me. If my hands could be here, then my shoulders would be here. Doing my best to keep my shoulders back and down with my hands in front. Okay, keeping that position so my core's locked in, really doing a lot of work to support. My core's doing a lot of work to support my lower back here. Okay, if that's not engaged, then we tend to round and put some more pressure there. So really sticking my butt back, keeping my core locked in, coming up to about a 45, and then I'm going to squeeze my shoulder blades together, pulling back with my elbows. Okay, so I don't want elbows flaring out. It brings it into more of a back of the shoulder, which is fine if that's what you're targeting. We can do a row with elbows out, targeting the rear of the shoulder. For this one, we're targeting the back, so I'm going to try and keep my elbows in close to me and really feeling that squeeze in my back. That's our bent over row. We're going to go into a thruster. So this is a combination of a couple of moves we've already done. So this is the squat in that front rack position with the kettlebell. I'm going to squat down and then I'm going to go into an overhead press. We're using the momentum of the squat to assist with that press. And I'll demonstrate. So you can see that driving up initiates that press, so it's nice and fluid rather than squat press, which is okay. But if you want to get high reps, you want to really help that shoulder press as well and just combine that into one fluid motion. So I'm going to go into a sit up, and I just find the kettlebell a good tool to assist with keeping my legs firmly planted on the ground. So a lot of people will have trouble with their feet coming off the ground. So this will help us just keep our feet locked in on the ground. Good core exercise. What I like to coach with the sit up is a lot of people will sort of pull up with their legs. Okay, and that's going to bring in a lot of the hip flexor here. We want to target the abs. So what I like to think about is really, as I'm picking myself up, I'm really engaging all those abs. They're locked in, and I feel like I'm really pulling up from my abs. So that's where some of that mind-muscle connection comes into play. I want to focus on the muscles we want to target doing that work. So it's easy to just pull up with your legs, but we want to focus on the abs doing that work. If you can't get all the way up, just focus on that squeeze, hold, relax. Get those muscles used to being activated, used to being the ones that are pulling you up off the ground, and keep those hip flexors out of it as much as we can. From there, I'm going to go into a twist crunch. So I'm going to use a kettlebell as my weight for the twist. I'm going to use these dumbbells to support my feet in that same fashion. So from here, I'm leaning back at about a 45, where my abs are engaged and locked in the whole time. Trying to keep my torso fairly straight, okay? Don't want to be here, want to be out here. And then we're taking that weight side to side. So that's bringing in some of those rotational muscles, our obliques, our serratus, really getting a full core workout with that one. That's really important to have your feet locked in for that one, because it does, because of that extra weight, you do want to tip backwards with the feet there. So that's what I've got for the twist crunch. That's about it for the exercises, guys. Thanks. There we go, YouTubers. That is the kettlebell exercises, the beginner option. Hopefully there are a ton of exercises that you can begin to incorporate into your weekly training, especially if you're at home and you just want a simple tool to be able to do some full body exercises. So the kettlebell is the one for you. Keep in touch for the advanced video that's coming as well. If you've got any questions, feel free to comment and I'll do my best to answer every single question in the comments section. If you like the video, subscribe for more. And if you want to know more about me and my gym training, personalized programming, exercise tutorials, and much, much more, check out my website, beyourbestself.fitness. Thanks for watching, guys. I look forward to seeing you in the next video.